Let's start with something rather cool, okay? Other people's words are the bridge from where you are to wherever you are going. That's by Zadie Smith. She's an English novelist. Do you like that? Good. Other people's words. That's very often teachers, right? And the you, well, that's us. Children, pupils, students, waiting at the edge of the bridge to go or not. Maybe in this room there are some people who are teachers. No pressure, right? I'm hoping that there are people here who were lucky enough to have inspiring teachers, right? You know those teachers. You know the teachers. You can still remember their name. You remember how they were dressed. You can, if you really screw up your eyes and concentrate, you can remember what they were saying. You can zoom yourself back in time to the classroom, and you know where you were sitting. You are aware of your place in the classroom, at the front, at the back. And maybe you even remember the guy who was next to you. That's the inspiring teacher. I hope you met them. But, maybe you also had one of those less inspiring teachers. Yeah, the guys, who were snooze-worthy. In their classes, you had to make a real effort not to go to sleep and to focus. And you said to yourself, well, maybe that bridge, that subject, it's not for me. But even worse, it's quite possible that those snooze-worthy teachers made you think that you weren't even capable of going along that bridge. And that is kind of serious. One less option is open to you in life. One less choice and one less path. That's really sad. Now, I like to think, that children, when they begin school, they're curious and they're enthusiastic and they really want to learn. But hey, it doesn't last very long, does it? In an endless world, there is endless learning. But I know that that's not the case. You see, I have one of the most difficult and challenging jobs in the universe. My job is just an increment less difficult than that of a lion tamer. I try to teach French adults to speak English. And those adults, when they were kids, they were so enthusiastic and playful. They thought they were Dora the Explorer. It's like you. They used to sing head, shoulders, knees and toes. Knees and toes. Yeah, with a huge smile on their face. Until that snooze teacher wiped that smile right away by correcting them whenever they put up their hand to speak in class. Have you been there? Done that? These are the adults who come to me and talk about learning English, telling me, or relearning English, and tell me that they feel blocked, small, paralyzed. Those are not great words to be associated with the joy of speaking a language. So those snooze teachers are not very proud of that. But I'm sorry, there's even worse. Because some of those snooze teachers have taught us to think that it's our fault. We are the problem. Not the way of teaching, but it's us. And that's when so many teachers use a word which is terrible to my ears. They say, well, I'm just not gifted. Not gifted? What does that mean? What is this gift? And who goes around giving it out? The God of language learning? The divinity of dance? The muse of mathematics? How many people here have been hoodwinked into thinking that you can't do something because you don't have the gift? Please take some time to consider just how ridiculous that is. No gift. The learning researcher Anders Ericsson has said, there are no cells that a genius has that you and I don't. Now, this is the point in the discussion when I know what some of you are thinking. I know what you're going to say. You're going to pull out the Mozart card, right? You're going to say, but surely, Carol, you can't deny that Mozart had a gift for music. Well, yes, I do. I don't think anyone has a gift for anything. We have the disposition, sure. We have the disposition, but that comes from our parents, from our early life, or from our physique. It's how Usain Bolt has long legs. It's how Mariah Carey has exactly the right vocal cords to sing 5 octaves. It's how Steve Jobs had a garage. Mozart certainly didn't have a teacher who taught him he was not capable. Mozart's teacher was his father. And his father taught him he was great. And more importantly, did you know that by the age of 6, the age of six when you or I were still singing head, shoulder, and right? Mozart, he had clocked up an estimated 3,500 hours of practice. No gift. He put in the work. But those snooze-worthy teachers are responsible for convincing us otherwise. But please, guys, if you're a parent, if you're a teacher, never use that word gift. And I do think that it was possibly Napoleon who had a much more interesting maxim. They say, you know, that it was Napoleon who said, vouloir, c'est pouvoir. If you want to, you can. And that's far more inspiring, isn't it? Of course, there are some limits. You know, these little legs are never going to do Usain Bolt. Those snooze-worthy teachers are responsible for discouraging so many pupils with dire consequences. But let's leave them for the moment. Let's go back to the inspiring teachers, the ones we love, the ones we remember, the ones who changed our lives, the ones who said, there's this bridge and this bridge and this bridge and it's beautiful. Let's go together. Those teachers, their avatar is John Keating, the teacher that Robin Williams played in the film The Dead Poets Society. He taught his students to seize the day, to embrace their individuality, and to think analytically. When we can do that, guys, we can do anything. I told you I was an English teacher. 8 years of English teaching was done here at this school. And I believed, and I still believe, that it is the responsibility for the inspiring teacher to continue lifelong learning. So I used to go to all the lectures that I could. And I especially used to go to the lectures of one teacher who, for me, personified really this inspiring idea. His students loved him. He was passionate about his subject, mechanical engineering. And it was kind of a long time ago. But I do hope there will be a frisson of recognition when I pronounce his name. Head of Mechanical Engineering Department, Mr. Jean-Pierre Bausor. Ah! Jean-Pierre was incredible. And one day, he gave a lecture that I attended. And for me, it was an example of what an inspiring teacher is. Let me give you just a little bit of a taste of it, I hope. Have any of you here heard of chromophotography? Have you heard of this guy? There he is. Right, yeah, right. Etienne Jules Marais. Have you heard of this guy? Right? He was a French student and a practitioner of the beginner art of photography. You know, in the 1860s, 1870s, it was a time when France was great in that field. You know, they'd invented the daguerreotype, and lots of different machines were being developed. And Etienne Jules Marais was particularly interested in the dynamics of human locomotion. You never heard of him? Well, you've seen his work, because if you take the metro at Lyon-Part-Dieu, you will have seen not that, but this. You recognize that? His chronophotographic analysis of human movement. Or this one, even better, isn't that beautiful? Now, one of the polemics at that time was to analyze the movement of the horse. And the big question was, when a horse galloped, did his 4 hooves leave the ground at any particular time? And Etienne Jules said, no. There's always one hoof touching the ground. And this was in contradiction to what artists were painting. Put your minds back to the 1870s and imagine that at this time, this beginner art of photography was at the frontier of art and science. So this question was a burning question. Did the horse's 4 hooves leave the ground at a time? Enter the Brit. We got to have a British guy with a French guy, right? So here he is, I hope. Coming up. Edward Muybridge. Now, he was a character. Edward Muybridge, that wasn't his real name. He changed his name because he thought it sounded better that way. English, emigrated to America, had a stagecoach accident, hit his head, became even more strange, but he was passionately interested in animal movement too. His discipline is called zoopraxology, study of movement of animals. And he entered this dilemma, this question about the horse's hooves, especially since there was a bet made with a money prize to the person who could give the answer. Now, our French friend said, no, there's always one horse's hoof on the ground. But Edward said, no. At one moment in time, all 4 hooves leave the ground. And this is what he did. He set up a series of tripwires all along a racecourse. As the tripwires broke, because the horses were advancing, it activated a camera, and he got a series of photos like this. And he was able to prove he was right. There is a moment in time when all 4 horses' hooves leave the ground, but not tucked inside as artists were depicting. At some moment, the horses' hooves are spread outwards. These 2 guys are the pioneers of modern photography and cinematography. Biomechanics as we understand today. Do you think that's cool? I did. My jaw dropped. And I said to myself, in my next life, I'm going to be a mechanical engineer. That was over 30 years ago. It was in this very room. And I still remember. That's the power of the inspiring teacher. So, what's the meaning of an inspiring teacher? Well, it's not that teacher who throws out fact after fact after fact ad nauseum like a sad frisbee on a wasteland. It's not the teacher who is passionate about his subject, although that is important. It's the teacher who is passionate and a fabulous storyteller, as compelling as the storytellers we used to be in time immemorial when we sat around the campfire telling stories about where to hunt the mammoth. The inspiring teacher is passionate, good storyteller, but more than that, he loves his students. He loves his subject. And his utmost desire is to show the students the beautiful bridges that are out there and to invite them to come with him to the amazing futures on the other side. If you're a teacher, if you're a parent, you have a big responsibility. In this day and age, when we have the endless possibilities brought about by artificial intelligence and ChatGPT, it's more important than ever to be inspiring. In today's world, teachers matter. If you were a teacher, understand that responsibility. Learn how to love your students and take them to that bridge. Put them across to the other side. And teachers, learn how to be inspiring.